United States Air Force B-1B bombers have completed a bombing run tonight, and the long-awaited and much discussed attack by the United States against Iran-backed militias in the Middle East, in Syria and in Iraq in particular, has begun. According to a CENTCOM statement that was released just about an hour ago, Gary, if you can throw that up there, we have attacked, let's see, 85 different targets on a number of different locations with 125 precise munitions. And one of the key things that came out of that, both the CENTCOM statement as well as the President Biden statement, which he released subsequently, specifies that targeted were not just the Islamic resistance of Iraq and not just Kataib Hezbollah, which the former there actually claimed credit for killing the American troops there and attacking, but also IRGC Quds forces, organizations and groups and potentially leaders inside of Iraq and Syria. That is a significant development that you need to pay attention to. You need to understand why that's significant. These Iran-backed units are units that have received funding, training, and equipment from the Iran-backed group, which they have done to groups throughout the region there. They provide those kinds of things. But that's not Iranian troops. If we now have attacked and killed Iranian troops, and that's what IRGC Quds forces are, they are the Iranian military per se. And I think we had on here on one of our shows yesterday, the commanding general of the IRGC emphatically, angrily said, if his troops are killed, they will respond. They said they don't want war, but they're not afraid of it. And as I pointed out previously, Iran in recent weeks has attacked targets in Iraq and in Syria and in Pakistan. They will go into any other country to launch attacks if they believe their interests have been harmed or their people have been attacked. That's what they have done. And the president of Iran went on television earlier today and said that if anything happens, if they get attacked, they will respond. It's unclear if he meant specifically in Iran proper or if it's Iran troops. We know the IRGC commander did not make any differentiation between where his troops were attacked. If they're attacked, they're going to respond. Now, I found it interesting that one of the statements I've seen on a number of American officials so far, and I believe even from the Pentagon and possibly it was the White House too, I'm not sure who it was attributed to, but they said, look, if American troops are killed, you can count on it. We're going to go after you. Now, you've heard me say that too. If an American troops are killed like these were, we're going to go after the people who did it, which is the Islamic resistance of Iraq. It's not Iran. That's a separate issue. But why does anyone think that we hold our troops to be so dear that we will go after anyone who kills them? And now that if we kill Iranian troops, that somehow they're not going to, that they're going to get the message and that they're going to back down. To me, that is the height of absurdity, of arrogance and presumptions to think that we can kill someone else's troops and they will do what we won't, which is back down. Because there's no reason to think that Iran did. And as I just told you, they have recent experience and evidence that they are going to do precisely the opposite. So the first question I want to know from the White House is, what is the objective here? What is your intent with this strike? Is it purely a punitive strike, i.e. to punish the people who did this, who killed the American troops? Is it to send a strong message? I've heard that bandied about a lot already. Don't know what the message they intend is, which is, I guess, if you keep doing this, we're going to keep striking at you. Or if it's something else, do you want to deter Iran? I've heard replace deterrence, reestablish deterrence. I've heard that phrase tossed around by a lot of so-called experts on television lately, because I don't see any evidence. There's no rational reason to think any of those things are going to happen. To the contrary, I think that we can expect much more to come and much more violence. I don't think that this is going to accomplish anything, although I don't even know what the objective is. Even in the CENTCOM statement, in the president's statement, and I believe also in the Secretary of Defense's statement, I haven't heard an objective. This is what we want this military power to accomplish. And if we have indeed killed troops from another country's armed forces, now then you get to the point to where the president could be in violation of the Constitution and the 1973 War Powers Act. That gives him the authority to respond if our troops are attacked against the people that did it, not against someone who may have given them training and ammunition, but against the people who did it. Now then you've crossed that line, And if there's a response, now what's he going to do? That's my big problem here. And what you need to understand, forget about all this nonsense you've been hearing, and you're about to hear some more from some of the alleged experts in our country about how we need to hit Iran harder. Already there's been members of Congress who said this isn't enough. Even though it's going to be a sustained combat over time, it's not enough. We need more. Okay, what if it doesn't work? And now that instead of 3 American caskets that land in Dover, you get 33 or 103, or we get into a war because Iran doesn't do what you want them to do and they don't back down. See, there's no plan for like the second and third and fourth steps here. There's just a hit them hard and show how tough we are. How tough you are, my friend, could be the very thing that sets up us for some bad outcomes. And taken far enough could get us drawn into a war that we don't want to fight, and we might not even be able to win, probably can't, and could actually cost us more in other places aside from the direct cost. That doesn't deter a lot of people, though. I'm telling you that there are folks that are emphatically about saying things that are, in my view, un-American, but at the very least, they're foolish. We're going to start off looking, first of all, at one of our favorite targets because he opens his mouth all the time and says these kinds of things, Jack Keane.
We're not expanding a war. Iran expanded a war through its proxies in northern Israel. 80,000 Israelis displaced. The Houthi campaign disrupting 50% of the traffic through the Suez Canal and the Red Sea. That's an expansion of the war by Iran and the Houthis. And as you suggest, I mean, my God, 165 attacks. We should have been pounding them to prevent eventual loss of life, as opposed to doing something after the loss of life.
Now, if you just listen to that, you might be tempted to think, wow, you know what? He's right. I mean, the Houthis, the Iran-backed Houthis, they have been attacking ships in the Red Sea. There have been, Hezbollah has been attacking Israel. And yeah, there's been over 165 of these attacks against our people. Man, they really are. We better do something. Okay, hang on there, dude. Back up a little bit. Let's look at the context of those things because they're not out of the blue. He's presenting it as though that for no good reason, the Houthis have decided to start attacking ships in the Red Sea. For no good reason, Hezbollah has been attacking into northern Israel. For no good reason, these people have been attacking American positions in Iraq and in Syria. Okay, there is a reason. It's called the Israel-Hamas war. And Israel went into Gaza Strip around the middle of October. And since that time, and only since that time, the attacks against our people have spiked. Only since that time did the Hezbollah start attacking into northern Israel. Only since November, when the casualties among the Palestinian people started spiking and getting into the tens of thousands, then the Houthis started attacking ships in the Red Sea, specifically in retaliation for what the Israeli forces were doing. So you have to present all of this so the American people understand what the context is for this, because that changes the dynamic a little bit. So you're being deceptive and you're not telling the American people everything they need to know, and you're deceiving them into thinking one thing is true when there's actually something very different is true. It is in America's vital national interest for the Israeli-Hamas war to end as soon as possible, not to drag it out, not to let it go on for whatever they want to do, dragging us into potential war with it, because we have backed Israel unapologetically and we have blocked anything that has happened in the United Nations or any attempt at all to bring that war to an end. We're now facing the blowback. So our actions there have consequences here. We don't have to agree with it. We don't have to agree that Iran is right or that the Houthis are right or that the Islamic resistance of Iraq is right. You can hate all of them. You can disagree with all of them. But what you can't do if you're being a rational human being is say that there's no reason for it, is to say that it doesn't come out of thin air. They're doing it because of what's happening over here. And it's not in our interest to let that happen further. Okay. Unfortunately, it's going to get about worse here because the next one I'm going to show you is General Kellogg, also on Fox News. I think less than an hour ago, right at an hour ago, he said this.
We haven't gone into Iran, and I know that if you do that, the risk goes up, but you've got to get uncomfortable when you do something like that to make the other side uncomfortable. Iran does not want to go to war with the United States of America. They are afraid of the United States. They know what we can do, and we should make them understand that we are going to take a step that is going to prevent you from doing anything further. That means take out their economic facilities like their oil fields. That means taking out their leadership. Ismail Ghani, the leader of the Quds Force. You're talking about Khomeini, the supreme leader. You're talking about taking out all the military facilities. You've got to be willing to go there. And when the other side realizes that you're willing to step up and go there, they're going to back down.
Folks, that is madness. It is madness what he said. Take out their economic facilities. Take out their commanding general. Take out their head of state. That is the very definition of an act of war. What nation on the planet is going to allow their assets to be attacked like that and not go into a full-scale war? We're launching all of these actions because 3 of our troops got killed. Now imagine if it was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Imagine if someone actually assassinated our president. Do you think there's anyone in the nation that would not be up in arms and ready to go after who did those things? Now, upon what logic can you possibly claim, General Kellogg, that by taking those actions that Iran should be expected to do the opposite that we would, and they should back down? And that then, man, peace will come, and they'll get the message that you want to send so bad, and then we'll be good to go. That is absurd. That is irrational. It's illogical. It's un-American. It is not American to go and assassinate the leader of another country because of something that somebody else did in a related area. I mean, we got to say this because it's true, and I assure you, many people in the rest of the world are looking at this. You say that we should go after Iran because they provided arms and ammunition to Kataib Hezbollah or whoever did this. Okay, we're providing arms and ammunition to Ukraine so that they can go kill Russian soldiers. Are you then going to claim, in being consistent and irrational and a consistent logic, that now Russia should come after us because we're the ones that enabled Ukraine? I bet you won't. I bet you'll say, no, that's different. That's not the same thing. Or that all of these same groups that we give arms and ammunition to Israel and that they're killing all of these Palestinians and Hamas, et cetera, that they shouldn't come after us because we're the ones who are providing help to the Israelis. Of course, that's different. That's different. Yeah, it's different because it's us that we want it to work out our way. But if you're going to be consistent and logical, then you're going to say if the funder equals the person who pulled the trigger, then that means us too. Because you can't change logic because you don't like the outcome. What that really sounds like is that I don't give a damn about what's right and wrong. I care about strength and power. And we have power over these people. We have power over these people. We're going to use it. Okay, if you're going to make that call, and some do, then be honest and open about it, and then quit trying to claim moral high ground on other things, because it just is not going to work. It's naked, ugly, contradictory statements. And everybody sees it before what it is, or many people do, I'll say. I guess not everybody. But I see it, and I assure you, it just drives me up the wall. And the reason it does is just on the moral case of it alone, it's immoral to so easily talk about going and killing somebody else and taking out their heads of state and all this. But the bigger issue, or the more important issue that you could care less if you don't want to worry about the morals, is the damage and the harm it does to our country. It totally cuts our knees out from under us when we try to make moral cases elsewhere. When we try to say that it's a good thing to support Ukraine in their fight against Russia, it's a good thing to support Israel in their fight against Hamas, but it's not okay for somebody else to do it on somebody we like. I mean, you see that people are just going to laugh at us. Other people around the world are saying you have a grotesque double standard. It's one way or it's always. It's not one this way and one that way to our advantage and the disadvantage of everybody else. People are starting to, have a real problem with listening to anything America says because of these kinds of statements. And so when you see us saying we're going to go kill anybody who touches our troops, but somehow you don't want that from the other side, but you still take the action. You're saying that it's not enough that we've attacked 85 targets today or 120 with 125 weapons, or that this is just day one and many more are going to come, and we don't want any change. All of those troops who were killed, as you've seen on my previous episodes here, because they're there. They are vulnerable to attack by the Kataib Hezbollahs and the Islamic Resistance of Iran and all these other shadow groups that are out there because they can reach them. They're handy. They're just known dots on the map. That map we put up there a minute ago that had all the red dots on it, everybody in the Middle East knows where those targets are. They're easy to get to. If you want to protect Americans and you want to keep American troops from getting killed, get them the hell out of the way. Get them out of harm's way so that they're not easy prey for targets. Because I can assure you, as Mike Domino said on our show from the former CIA guy the other day, most of these small little outposts that are in the middle of there, all these red dots, most of them have low-level air defense capacities and counter mortar kinds of radars that they can go after. They're not set up to have theater ballistic missiles coming in. If Iran decides that they're going to retaliate and they go after these targets, they're soft targets for them, folks. It won't just be 3 caskets that come at Dover like happened earlier today. It'll be 33 or 103, or God only knows if we continue to get into here, because our leaders aren't telling anyone so far what comes next. What are you going to do if Iran does what they claim they're going to do, what they have been doing, and use missiles like this against some of our weak outposts? That's what you're not hearing. So try to just dig through all of the nonsense that these people are saying and, beating their chest about how tough we are and all this kind of stuff, and think of the ramifications of what they're telling you and the meaning of it and the risk that they're putting on us. Now, I pray that Biden is not going to listen to such nonsense, and at least so far, he hasn't taken it to Iran proper. But if these people, the IRGC says, okay, you killed our people, so we're coming after your people, and any more Americans gets killed, I assure you, I don't think Biden will be able to resist the avalanche of pressure on him to then directly attack into Iran. And folks, once that happens, it's a war. It's a war. If it's not already, that will be a war, because there is almost no chance that Iran will say, yeah, all right, I guess good point. We're going to behave now. I once you attack into Iran proper, I think that it's just game on. And if you watched our episode from yesterday, the big, humongous risk is that Iran races to the bomb. And now then we will have to go on a massive bombing campaign to try, if we think we're going to try to prevent that. And if we don't, and they get the technology and they actually produce a warhead, the region will never be the same again. And everything you think you know about how balance of power worked out will be thrown upside down. And I don't even know what would happen after that, but I know it would all be bad for American national interests. That is what is at stake here. We may have already crossed the Rubicon. It may be too late to pull it back, but I pray that Biden will, at the very least, do the smart strategic thing and get our troops out of harm's way so no more caskets have to come back to Dover Air Force Base under a flag. That's your deep dive today. We are going to continue watching this. Unfortunately, this is the very beginning, and they said there's more, even more rounds of this to come. So I'm sure we're going to see more of this, and you can count on us. We are going to be on top of it for you, bringing you expert analysis. We're going to bring in some expert other people who can give you information you're just not going to get anywhere else. Things that you need. Like and share to spread this around to everybody else, because if you want the truth instead of some of this nonsense that you're hearing, like I just showed you there from those other so-called experts, keep coming back here, and we'll keep you updated on Daniel Davis Deep Dive.